That. Oh, that's interesting. That's because I don't know how to use a microphone properly. Clearly. Oh. Oh, we're live. Okay. Am I gonna do the thing? Am I no, I'm not. I'm not gonna do the thing today. You know what? I am gonna actually oh, squeaky. I'm gonna be like all the YouTubers who hold their SM 7B microphones like idiots when they're supposed to be on um a microphone arm. I'm still getting caffeinated, so excuse the slight lag in mental clarity. It'll take probably about 4 more minutes and then we'll be good. So, yeah, there's that. It's bitter and black like my heart. So good day. I'm gonna try not to say a specific time because I don't know when people are viewing these things. So, whether you're on Facebook, or whether you're on LinkedIn or whether you're on YouTube. Hello, 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 hello. Greetings and salutations. There we go, a bit of Demolition Man in the morning. So today is a quick-ish video in regards to podcasting because it's so hot right now and everyone and their grandmother thinks they should be doing one. And I, for one, as a person who has been editing them and advising people on them and watching slash listening to many and equally seeing many fall flat and fall victim to what is now lovingly called pod fade. I think it's pertinent that we have a discussion as to why you shouldn't do a podcast. So, dear viewer slash listener, if you are on the fence, as it were, as to whether you should do your podcast, whether you should continue your podcast, this is going to be one of 6 little videos that I'm doing for you to get you thinking properly, not hypothetically in that kind of manana tomorrow banana kind of situation, right? This is cold hard facts right now, and you should have a pen and paper to write these questions down and ask yourselves these questions as to whether you should or shouldn't do a podcast. There we go. Here comes the caffeine and here comes more viewers. Hello. If you can, I know I'm using StreamYard, say hello. It's nice to know that there are actual people out there and I'm not just talking into the void, which is what I do most of the time. So this is 5 reasons why you should not podcast. Not why you should not podcast. So I'm starting in a slightly contrarian manner to begin with because it's important. Right? I don't think everyone should do a podcast. You know, not everyone should do a podcast. You have listened to some absolute clangers, right? We've all done that. But in this respect, I think it's important to just take on board, for your own personal reasons, why you should or shouldn't do a podcast. So, without any more fluffage, let's go straight into it. One thing, yes, I am hand holding my microphone. It is a Samsung. Like this is the thing. When a microphone moves away from your mouth, you can't actually hear anything. This is a Samsung Q2U microphone. Very cheap, very cheerful, gets the job done. Also doesn't pick up all the background noise because it's a dynamic microphone in comparison to. Can I do this without hitting my coffee? Yes, the Blue Yeti. Hello. Which is a condenser mic, and I also couldn't be bothered to set it up today. So that's where we are. Is the cat waking? Yes, he is. If you see a naked thing running around, it's my cat, don't worry. So, reason number 1 as to why you should not do a podcast. You think it will make you money. Now, it might, but it won't make you money instantly. As with everything, as with working out, as with creating a book, the reason behind a new asset, and this is what it is. If you're a business person, hello, we're going to talk businessy things. If you're not a business person, take the words on board because they're also important for you. If you're a hobbyist, this is going to be important. But the first reason people go into podcasting is because for whatever reason they're told, oh, this is going to make you money. It might eventually, but not at the beginning. At the beginning, you're actually going to be putting time, right, which is a currency, and your own money into this thing if you want to do it properly. If you don't want to do it properly, then it won't cost you much. It will just cost you time. But if you think it will make you money from the word go, You are sorely mistaken, and you need to stop with that right now. There are ways to make money if you want to go down the route of sponsorship, right? That's the thing where, you listen to people talking about, hey, this podcast is sponsored by blah, 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 blah. Fine. If you want to do that. It's fine. There's other ways of sponsorship via show notes, and there's sponsorship in other kind of avenues that you can do through directing people to things. I'm just going to check and make sure that I am actually streaming on here, because no one's writing anything, and I feel like I am talking into the void. Let's see what's going on. Oh, see, like you guys are saying stuff and I can't see it on here. So let's do this. Helen. Hi, Helen. Hi, Dashi. Lots of people are watching. Cool. So yes. So good. Hi. I'm gonna have to use my phone. So if you see me looking down twice, it's my notes and looking at here, because StreamYard's being weird with comments, which always happens. So cool. Thank you. The hair. It's my new thing. I'm Busta Rhymes' cooler younger cousin, obviously. So the first issue, Nick, hi Nick, is we're talking about making money. It will make money for you eventually, but you need to put in a lot of work first, right? If you don't put in the work, if you don't create listeners, if you don't create a listenership, if you don't have a nice active base, which can be, an email list is super important. Like an email list is everything, right? If you don't have that, then the money making side of things is not going to happen. So number one point, you think it will make you money. If you think this, and if what I've just said doesn't convince you otherwise, then don't start a podcast. Okay. Point number 2. You haven't factored time and money for starting and maintaining the podcast when you're done. Now, I say when you're done because a lot of people don't actually think about the end of a podcast, right? Not everyone is Joe Rogan, and not everyone should be. There should only be one, if even that is debatable. Not everyone's Joe Rogan. Not everyone's Jocko Willink. Not everyone is Jordan Peterson. Not everyone is Mel Gibson. Like, you're not Mel Gibson. Is it Mel Gibson? Yeah, the lady. You shouldn't be a powerhouse that just keeps on going and going and going and going. Some of you might be, and that is totally fine. But most of you who I know who are watching this are gonna have a business aspect to your podcast, right? If it's for personal reasons, that's completely different. But if you're looking at adding this to your business assets, right? That phrase again, you need to know that there's going to be a stop and start, just like everything else in your business. The only thing that keeps on going is your accounting, right? But beyond that, with your podcast, you need to factor in that you're going to be doing a lot of the work, right? And you are going to be there. You need to be there. If it's your podcast, you are part of the podcast. You are the podcast. Even if you do this with other people, Shane, don't troll me. I will end you. Even if you're doing this with other people, right? There needs to be management of time. There needs to be management of money, because your podcast should never be on your website. You do not host audio files on your website. Don't do it. It's a bad idea, because imagine you had an email list of, say, 25 people, and those 25 people listen to every single episode you put out, and each episode is half an hour long. So if it's half an hour long at a specific data rate, you're probably looking at 35 megabytes, right? I am really crap at maths, so I'm going to call it like 30 megabytes, right? And then you multiply that by however many people. It's a lot of data per month, and your host is going to spank you way more than what it would cost to be on something like Libsyn or Blueberry or Transistor or Castos or Spreaker or all of those podcasting hosts that charge you anywhere from like £5 or $7 to, 50 quid, 70 quid a month, whatever you're doing, whether it's a private podcast or a public podcast. That's something you need to consider. You are going to have a financial outlay initially. See what people are saying. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, good. All right. So number 2, right? You haven't factored in time and money for starting and maintaining when you're done. you can stop your podcast, right? You can decide to do it in seasons. You can decide to do it in, you know, every January, right? You release the podcast for the year. So you release 12 episodes or you release 24 episodes or whatever. You can let people Netflix binge if you want them to. You can drip feed it, whatever style. This is something I'm going to do in the next video, but whatever style you choose to do, factor in time to stop, right? Because I know most of you have families, most of you have lives, most of you need to have time off, and you need to factor that in. So Christmas time is coming up. Most of you are going to be taking anywhere from like 5 days to maybe like 3 weeks, 4 weeks off, right? If not like 2 months off. Like I know some of you are just going summer hot and you're done. And I'm like, that's going to be me next year. But you really, really need to factor that in, okay? And maintenance afterwards means you're going to have a set amount of money that's set aside just to hold the podcast. Even if you don't add to it, you're still going to financially pay, that £5 a month, which is like, is it 60? 5 by 12 is 60? Yeah. You're still paying 60 quid a year for your podcast to be maintained on something like Libsyn, okay? And you need to factor that in, right? Even when you're done, you need to factor that in. Cool. 2 down, 3 to go. So, what are people saying? Hi. Number 3, okay. You think it'll boost your expert level like a book. So this is weirdly worded and it's deliberate. So a lot of us write books. A lot of you need to do audiobooks. And you need to come talk to me. Obviously. Just a little plug. But a lot of you create your books to be the expert, to be perceived as an expert in your space. Totally cool. Totally valid. Having a book as a way to position yourself and to get more people into your world is totally cool. It's fine, right? Can I say totally cool any more times in a minute? Beyond that, when you have your podcast, yes, it will add to your level of expertise, assuming that your podcast is about whatever your book is about and is about whatever your business is about. The thing about podcasts is you can pivot and change and modify and evolve, which is a beautiful thing. So if you're only focusing on it boosting your expert level, you will fall out of love with your podcast so quickly. Oh my God, I have seen this so many times where people are pushing themselves as an expert and all they're talking about is their expertise in the podcast. And then it's just like, okay, so you've spoken about how great you are for the past 4 months. Now you're tired. Now you have no steam. And then everything else, all the chips fall down as a result from that. And you need to not do that, okay? As great as podcasts are for business, and they are, podcasts are passion projects first. I don't care if you're a corporate entity. I don't care if you're an entrepreneurial entity. I don't care if you're a person that likes to crochet little hats for naked cats. Don't send me any. The fact still remains is if you're doing a podcast, the passion has to be there first. It won't be there all the time. No. But it has to be there first because your curiosity and the genuine wanting to help people needs to be there. If that's what your expertise is, then don't listen to this point. I've just spoken a whole bunch of claptrap and you carry on with your good self. But ultimately, if you decide you want to create a podcast just to leverage your position as an expert, don't. Create your podcast because you want to help people first. Your helping is what your expertise is, and so forth and so on, and it builds up, right? You build up from a strong foundation. You don't build from a rotting fish head, because fish rot from the head first. I don't know where that came from. I was listening to someone in another group about things. Helen, do the book first. Do the book first. Okay. Literally just do the book first, right? You will get so much more from the book. And here's a little hack. This is video this is video 4, but because Helen's put this out there and I think it's really important. When you do your book, you can use that as leverage to guest on other people's podcasts. So this is kind of point 5 that I'm bringing up as well. It's easier to guest on other people's podcasts, right? And you're already doing this anyway with radio stuff, right? you're going to have to do the book first. If you want to get your audiobook on Audible, they need you to have your book first on Amazon, and then you connect it and then do it on Audible. Send me a message, madam. Let's talk. Like, literally, just candid, just whatever. Like, send me a message and we can talk about this. So thank you. I'm doing it on a £70 microphone, Jules. And this is one of my courses, shameless plug, how to find your online voice, how to speak into microphones properly online. There is a method. If you haven't noticed, I'm speaking at an angle and at a very specific distance, but we won't go off too much on a tangent. Have I covered everything? Yes. Little Hats for Naked Cats. It should be a punk band. Anyway, so to boost your expert level, if you think a podcast will get you further, I disagree. Right? A podcast is a lot of time to be put into for it to actually start giving you the rewards that you're looking for. In the case of Helen, right? Is it podcast or book? Book. Easily, like book, audiobook if you want, then podcast, right? The nice thing about audiobooks and podcasts is they marry together quite well. If you can stomach, if you've listened to Dave Goggins' Dave Goggins? Is he like a fish? That's plural and still a fish? Anyway, if you've listened to Dave Goggins' book, right, as an audiobook, it's an amazing concept. Like from a sound engineer point of view, he has a semi kind of like podcast style to the audiobook. So as a chapter is done, him and his ghostwriter talk about the chapter and little kind of additional tidbits that happened in that chapter. You don't get that in the book. Right? You don't get this candid back and forth between him and his ghostwriter. So with your audiobook, it's a flex that you can add little anecdotal things or little things, additional things to help people in a fun setting, because you can make it an audiobook podcast style, right? And then from that, you can just sashay straight into a podcast super easily. So I advise a lot of people to do that. Look, my voice was brought to you by my parents, so you can thank them. So when it comes to looking at a podcast to leverage your expertise, do a book first if you can. Podcasts take time. All right, 3 down, 2 to go. Point number 4. You don't know your podcast production style and don't care to find out. Now, podcast production style is a phrase I've kind of been mulling over for ages, and I think I'm happy with it as a phrase to use for people. What's going on? Don't do that. Your podcast production style refers to how you, record. If you want to edit, how you edit. If you don't want to edit, how you're going to outsource that. And also how you get your podcast out into people's ear holes, right? So there's a whole entire system here where with your podcast, if you decide to record everything in advance, you need to schedule that in, and you need to understand how your scheduling works for you. And Discord should very much be quiet. Go away. People are waking up and it's going to turn into an absolute bleep fest in a second. Anyway, so you need to know your scheduling style and how that works for you. You need to know how you record, right? Are you a powerhouse who can, do this thing where I have a notebook that has all my videos written out in bullet points so I can run through them? I hate scripts, right? I actually scripted all of this stuff 5 months ago and didn't do anything with it. And then I'm like, actually, I like bullet points and then ad-libbing on top of that. And that's my presentation style. So you need to know how to do that so you can get the most out of your recordings. Then the next thing is, depending on whether you're a solo, a duo, an interviewer, a master of panels, whatever style you're doing, you need to take that into consideration. And that's video 4, which is going to be at the tail end of next week. You need to think of all of these things, because if you don't cover these things, right, your initial ignition of excitement and oh my God, I'm starting a podcast. Oh, this is amazing. I read a few things and I spoke to a few people and, I'm a self-starter, so I'm going to do it myself. You will last maybe 6 months. On average, it's 10 months. What I've seen with people is they go up and then they kind of and then it's just 10 months. I've seen some people kind of run through Yeah, bullet points and ad-libbing is my jam. I've seen people maybe run up to 2 years, but at some point the pod fade gets them because they haven't really mastered this, or they've held on to too much stuff to manage and it's overwhelmed them. Because that's the thing, overwhelm happens, especially if you decide to edit the audio yourself, right? It can be exciting to learn something new and technical, but if you don't create templates, if you don't understand what you're listening for, if you don't understand how to make that process as quick and efficient as possible, right? Or you decide to outsource it, it's gonna stop you, right? A lot of people kind of get thwarted by this. And I used to help people in how to like edit this stuff, but I also lost the will to live at the same time, so I don't do that anymore. Just give me the stuff, let's get it done, right? Or I can like lead you to someone else, right? Like just find an editor. It's the best flex in this whole thing. So that's number 4. You don't know your podcast production style and don't care to find out. Please care to find out. Okay? Because if you do, you will be miles ahead of everyone else out there who's just doing this on a whim, just thinking, oh yeah, I can do it for my business, it'll be great for my business. But why? Why and how are you going to keep it going, right? Have you planned to keep it going? If not, what are you going to do to maintain it and then resurrect it as well? But that's video 2. That's happening on Thursday. So that's 4 down. Let's see what people are saying. Hello, humans. Number 5. And this one's really, really like straight to the point and really, really simple. But ultimately, people don't pay attention to this one. Number 5 is you don't even like podcasts, right? And I mean this. Like, if you're an avid podcast listener, it's really easy to look at the podcasts you listen to and start asking yourself, what is it about this podcast that I like? You know, Jules in the comments said, I really like your voice, which helps, right? So I'm aware that I have a very calm, velvety, when I've had enough coffee, because I coughed like an absolute fiend last night for some reason. So I'm a little bit croaky, but you know my vocal style is very pleasing and pleasant and soft on the ear. Some people don't have that, which is fine. But if you don't have that, you need to look at the kind of energy you're pushing forward. So if you do like podcasts, you can start listening to the various podcasts you like and finding out what you like about them. Is their voice different to yours, right? If you have a high voice, do you listen to low pitch podcasts? If you have a low pitch voice, do you listen to high pitch podcasts? All that kind of stuff. Is the energy something for you? Like all the podcasts I listen to, shy of Jocko Willink, are high energy stuff. But even with Echo Charles on that podcast, like they have back to forth sometimes that are really fun. So they have that kind of oscillating level of energy, right? If they're just super high energy and they're in your face all the time, if you love that, maybe don't replicate that, but try and find something in your own voice that helps you deliver better, right? If you don't know your voice, I'm saying this if you don't know who your online voice is, come do my course. If you don't know what your online voice is, your online persona, because if some of you guys have met me in person, you know this, right? This isn't me, mostly. Like, I'm at least 15 decibels lighter and way more excitable. But I'm not going to be shouting into your ear holes if you're listening to me in earplugs or headphones and stuff, right? So if you don't like podcasts, have a word with yourself, because you're entering the world of podcasts and you really, really need to enjoy the process, right? And I alluded earlier about guesting on other people's podcasts. If you want to guest onto other people's podcasts, which is a big flex, by the way, do it. In addition to having your own podcast, you're going to need to like their podcast. I mean, blindly going on other people's podcasts, yeah, sure, you can do that. But if you later find out that podcaster is, I don't know, pro-Texan abortion restrictions and stuff like that, you're going to be like, oh shit, I fucked up, right? And you don't want that to happen. So you need to be into podcasts anyway. You don't have to love them. I don't love podcasts. I don't even love podcast editing, but I really appreciate the people I work with. What their message is something that I approve of. Not necessarily approve of, but I'm here for it, right? And, everyone's got a different talking style. And I love that everyone has their talking style and they've embraced it. So most of the people that I work with are also Stage presenters, right? They talk on stage, so they already have that. If you don't have that, this is how you can start learning to find that, right? Because you don't even need to do the stage thing. I haven't done the stage thing really, but I figured out what kind of voice works for this kind of stuff, not the voice that I use on the hockey pitch when I'm shouting that 22 is running down on a wing and no one is manning them and someone needs to man them. Oh my God, what the hell is going on? And then you defend them shooting at you, right? Two very different scenarios, and you can imagine me shouting on a pitch. I have a very, very good voice, right? You need to figure out what works for you. If you don't know what works for you, talk to people and ask them, like, when I talk, what do you feel? What does it sound like? If you have that person that said, oh my God, you should do a podcast, ask them why. And not, because you're really funny. No. Go 5 whys deep. Be a 5-year-old and just literally just be like, why? Like, get into that. If they don't know, that's fine. At least you've kind of gone down that avenue to try and figure out what's going on. It's really important that you do that. So that is words. I'm just scrolling through the comments to see if I've missed anything. I've probably missed a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube and LinkedIn. Sorry. I'm going to try better next time. I might actually go on to Restream instead of StreamYard, but StreamYard is great. So if you have any questions about the 5 reasons why you should not podcast, please send me a message, DM, slide into my DMs. Ping a message on this, whether you're on the replay or whether you're live now and you've watched a little bit, even if you've got the tail end of it. Put your questions in here. I'll answer them. On YouTube, same thing. Put your questions in. I'll come and answer them. And if you've listened to the 5 points, I'm going to recap them in a second. If you've listened to the 5 points and you're still like, no, I want to do a podcast, 1, send me a message so we can have a chat. But 2, I'm doing another video, but it'll be later on Thursday, because I realized 10 a.m. in the morning is like stupid o'clock in the morning for my US lovelies. So I think on Thursday, it'll probably be more like 4 p.m. or something. I think that should be enough time. I think 8 hours behind will be like 9 a.m. So that's good. So recap for the 5 reasons you probably shouldn't podcast. Number 1, you think it will make you money instantly. It won't. Number 2, you haven't factored in the time and money you need to invest into starting and then maintaining your podcast when you're done. Because most of you will have a done point or a rest point in your podcast that you haven't even thought about. You're not Joe Rogan and you should not be Joe Rogan. So let's nip that in the bud. Be more Stephen Fry. Stephen Fry is great. Number 3, you think it'll boost your expert level like a book. It will, but not instantly. If you do a book, 1, there's a labor of love that is like 10-fold higher than making a podcast. And with a book, you can leverage that far quicker with far greater results and an audiobook. And then you can segue from the audiobook into a podcast. I mentioned Dave Goggins' podcast, audiobook, sorry. I mentioned Dave Goggins' audiobook because the style of the audiobook is almost like a podcast. And if you're doing a book, you can kind of have that entire journey for people to follow from the book to the audiobook into a podcast, if you so wish. But thinking that a podcast will instantly boost your expertise level to a high level really, really quickly, it won't. To be honest, go guest. Go guest on podcasts first, right? Guest them and put them into a funnel. Like, get all those guest listeners to listen in and take them somewhere. It's going to be far better than just trying to start your podcast and think you're instantly, super level 11 World of Warcraft expert. It doesn't work like that. It takes time and you need to invest in it. Number 4, you don't know your podcast production style. And I went into what that podcast production style means, and you don't care to find out, right? You don't know your podcast production style and you don't care to find out. That's an issue, because if you don't know how your recording style is, how you can manage your scheduling, how you can manage editing, if you decide you're going to do it yourself, or if you decide to outsource it, how to manage that. If you are not on top of that, you will last anywhere from 6 to 10 months, maybe a little bit longer. And then like your patience for it is just going to die off and you're just going to be like, okay, I'll just let it go, right? Don't be that person. Stop it. You know me, okay? And it's an insult to not at least know your production style, your podcast production style, from this or from some stuff that I have. And number 5, you don't even like podcasts. If you don't listen to podcasts, you don't particularly like them, then why the hell are you starting one? Okay? Real talk. Why the hell are you starting one if you don't even like podcasts? Right? That's not how the cookie crumbles. Right? And I don't mean like and love podcasts, and I've been into this already, but liking the space, liking the coffee side chats, liking just the nature of a podcast. You need to like that, right? And you need to like listen to it so you can learn of the different styles that are out there and maximize on that. If you don't like podcasts, you will stagnate just as quickly as not knowing your podcast production style. Okay? Cool. So, of course, there's going to be a little shameless plug. Easily the best quality audio live I've heard on Fit. Ooh, Carl, thank you. Michael, thank you very, very much. I'm hand holding a Samsung Q2U microphone. This thing costs £70. It's probably gone up a little bit, or maybe even down a little bit on Amazon. I'm hand holding it. There's 2 techniques I'm doing here. One, it's at an angle, so you don't have this happening. And if I say potatoes, ooh, it's not happening today. Potatoes. Nope, it's not happening for some reason. I can't actually expel air like people do. It's a really weird thing. I don't understand how you guys do that. But the plosives aren't happening. Anyway, I'm talking at an angle, right? So the microphone is this way, and then my mouth is actually here. And also I'm a coughing fist away. So see if I do that. That's exactly where I am, which is really important because if you're too close, it sounds like it's way too intimate, and I don't like this, and I have to like down regulate my voice. So little techniques and stuff. But the shameless plug for my course is happening on Thursday. The shameless plug today is I have a deep dive, a 6 pillars of podcast production deep dive, which is basically 90 minutes with me on Zoom. I have this product, this document that I've been using over the last 2 years to help people get clarity on their podcast, why they should, why they shouldn't do it, what podcast hosts are best for them, what tech is best for them, right? So I'm probably going to either say this or the Blue Yeti, or there's another microphone as well. What your podcast production style is. We actually go into that and figure all of that out for you. And it's £80. It's going to be £80 up until my birthday, and then it's going to go back up to 180 quid again. So I'm going to put that as a comment in this live stream. And it's a link. There's nothing on the website about this because this is only something I give to people if I feel they're worthy. And if you're watching this, you're obviously worthy. So it's a 90-minute deep dive. It's 80 quid. There's a link to my little scheduler. You look at a time because I have various bits of time available. It gets slotted into my scheduler. I'm going to put a code in there to discount it to 80 quid as well. And jump on. If you want to figure out whether a podcast is for you, jump on it. I will go into your brain, like literally just go in and do this and then just pull out like, this is why you should or shouldn't do the podcast, and then leave it to you. All right. That document is good for at least 3 years. The tech might change, but I give you the reasons why you should look for this and not for that. And you should do it. I'm shameless. Like I'm almost turning 36. I don't give it. Like if you want to figure out if podcasting is for you, check the comment when I put it down. Go look at the scheduler, book a time in, take the code, take 100 quid off this thing. It's 80 quid to figure out whether you should do a podcast or not. And you get everything as to the technology, the platforms, maybe looking at your scheduling. We can figure out your scheduling and stuff, and you get that document and you have it forever, right? And that document is getting revamped. It's getting all the steroids in January because it's going to be amazing. And I think it's a great document personally. So I have blabbed on enough. Cool. This has been 30 minutes. I didn't think this was going to be a half-hour live stream. I thought this was going to be like 15 minutes max. But clearly I can talk for England, and I'm not English. So again, if you love this, share it with someone, right? If you think someone should like get into this, the first 22 minutes is the 5 reasons why you probably shouldn't podcast. It's a bit of a clickbaity title, but that's the way things go nowadays, right? If you loved it, share it with someone. If you like it, give it the hearts and the likes and stuff so you can feed the Facebook algorithms, and it'll kind of like show itself up to other people's faces, because that's what needs to be done now. Apparently, it's all vanity metrics. And if you want to get stuck in on figuring out whether podcasting is for you or not, again, I have the 90-minute deep dive Zoom sessions. They're recorded. You get that. You get the document. It gets updated with any specific additional things to you. For the most part, the document is great. on its own because I've done this with so many people during lockdown. It's £80. I'm going to create a discount code to put into the comment as well. It's normally 180 quid. But like, just because it's 3 weeks until my birthday, I figured I might as well do something. So cool. I have repeated myself enough times. Thank you so much for jumping in and, like, sending comments. If you're on LinkedIn, if you're on YouTube, I'm really, really sorry. I haven't seen anything because StreamYard has been weird. I forgot I had a StreamYard account. I've been paying like stupid money for this thing, and I forgot I had it. But yeah, send me a DM if any of what I've said has piqued your interest in any way, shape, or form. Please, please, please understand there's no stupid questions. Okay, the only stupid question is the one you haven't asked me. So please ask me whatever you have. Like, I don't care. I love helping people. All I want to do is see you win at the end of the day, right? So go do the thing. I have blabbed on for long enough. I need to go do jujitsu because I still have far too much energy. The caffeine has fully kicked in and I'm ready to go strangle people. No, I don't mean that. It's jujitsu. If you don't understand jujitsu, go look at the thing. All right. I love your faces. I hope you guys have a great Tuesday, whether it's the morning, the afternoon, the evening, whether you're in Australia and it's already like Wednesday, whatever. Love you guys. And I'll see you on Thursday, probably at around 4:30 p.m. I don't know. You have to look. Look on my Facebook page. Okay.